And we're back. What's up, guys, for another edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast, brought to you by the good guys over at Fantasy Degens. As always, Sean Mitchell here at SMitchell17 on Twitter. Hope everybody is enjoying your Friday. We got a nice big 10-game slate in the association tonight, so we're going to be looking to obviously play some NBA DFS. Hopefully everybody made off with some cash yesterday or this week. I took the day off yesterday, only 4 games. Put 2 lineups in last night, broke dead even, literally doubled up in one of my lineups thanks to James Harden. I should have followed the strip club theory, as he only put up like 40 fantasy points, and obviously we needed way more than that from James Harden. I still put up 324 in that lineup, so I'm pretty mad about that. Nonetheless, new day, new money, let's get it. No harm, no foul. So, rolling over the games here for today, Magic at the Cavs, Orlando minus 3.5 here on the road, 212 on the total. For the last 5 games, we have Orlando coming in as the 18th fastest team, Cleveland as the 22nd, Pacers at the Pistons, Indiana minus 2.5 here on the road, no total on this one, waiting to kind of see some news. Indiana 23rd, Detroit 29th. Pretty slow-paced game there between those two teams. Nets at the Hornets. Brooklyn minus 2.5, 217 on the total. Brooklyn coming in the 14th fastest over the last 5. Charlotte dead last. Let's see here. We got the Nuggets on a back-to-back going into Boston to play the Celtics. Only a 3.5-point spread here for Boston at home. 202 on the total. Real low total. Denver 21st, Boston 26 over the last 5 in terms of pace. Warriors at the Bulls, a game that we're really going to look to target probably more than so. Chicago, minus 4.5 here at home, 212 on the total. Golden State, 27th. Chicago, 14th. So it's a nice little pace-up spot here for Golden State in Chicago. Wizards at the Heat, Miami, minus 10.5. We get the Wizards here off a huge win last night against Philadelphia at home. Now they're traveling to Miami to take on the Heat. 10.5-point favorite here for the Heat. Don't have a total. Waiting to see some news. See if anybody's going to sit. This is not a great spot for the Wizards. It's on the road. It's in Miami. Miami's been really good, and it just does not match up well for them at all. So take that one with a little bit of caution. Tread lightly. T-Wolves at the Thunder. OKC minus 2.5, 220 on the board for the total. Wolves coming in as the 6th highest over the last 5. OKC 25th. So you get OKC here at a pretty massive pace-up spot here. This is a game that I really like quite a bit in it. So moving on, Clippers at the Bucks. Milwaukee minus 3.5, 232. Highest total on the board. LA Clippers coming in as the 2nd highest pace in the last 5. Milwaukee 8th. So you got 2 teams that are massively fast. Obviously, this is going to be your chalk game, other than the late night hammer. But this is a game, obviously, you're going to want to have a piece of. Kings at the Spurs. San Antonio minus 4.5 here. No total. Wait to see if LaMarcus Aldridge is going to play. He's questionable. Sacramento 28th. San Antonio 19th. San Antonio still hanging around that mid-tier, so as far as pace goes. And then your late night hammer, you have the Lakers going into Portland to take on the Blazers. Carmelo versus LBJ, just like we wrote it up. No spread on this game, but the total is 221, coming in as the 2nd highest total on the board. LA Lakers 6th over their last 5 in terms of pace. They have massively jumped their pace spots over the last week or so, a week and a half. So that is very interesting. Portland coming in as 10th. They've been really fast all year. So, again, nice pace-up spot for your late-night hammer there. It's going to be a game, obviously, we're going to look to target. It's going to be a good one. Let's jump right into the positionals. Point guard spot, of course, start off right with it with LeBron James at 10-1. We know Portland struggles versus point guards, combo guards, whatever you want to call them. LBJ plays everything. 2nd highest total on the board. He's put up 45 or more in all of his road games, averaging right around 31.6% usage. So, yeah, LBJ obviously in play. Damian Lillard on the other side at an 8.5, just put up 51 or 52 last game against Sacramento at home. I was on him, preached about him at home. Yeah, I totally expect to see another Dame home game here, especially on national TV. You get primetime Dame. In his last 3 home games, 45, 39, and 52, 27.4% usage in his last 5. So, yep, Dame at 8.5. I really like the price there. D'Angelo Russell, if he plays again, if he's probable. I said, he wasn't going to get over 25 minutes last game. He got on the nose 25 minutes. Hopefully, if he plays this time, he'll get a little bit of a more bump. Maybe plays 28, 30. We know, how that goes. It was just a hand injury, so maybe his second game back, he'll get a little more minutes. He only is 7'9". Still was able to put up 25 fantasy points, and he still took 14 field goal attempts. It doesn't take a lot of time for him to put up 10, 20 shots. So we know he's going to. He still had 31.4% usage rate in that game, even in 25 minutes. So DAR, it'll be risky, but I don't think anybody's going to go there. So that one will be something to monitor. Want to see if he's going to get any extra minutes. Kimba at 7.8. Denver on a back-to-back here. 52 fantasy points last game. He's now, he's getting Denver on a back-to-back here. He's put up back-to-back 52-plus fantasy point games in his last two, and he's had a 32% usage in his last two games at home. Kimba's been playing really well, especially there in the TD Garden. So that'll be a good one. His price is pretty cheap, so I'm totally fine with Kimba at 7.8. Malcolm Brogdon at 7.3 versus Detroit. Feels like we've seen this one a gazillion times already. He's 7.3. He's played over 30 minutes in his last six. He leads the team in usage at 23.8% over his last six. He's put up 40 and 43 and 28 in his last three on the road. That 28-pointer was their last game where they had a little bit of a lead, and he just really didn't play much after that. So as you see, the two prior, 40 and 43, Malcolm Brogdon is a potential 40-pointer on any given night. So at 7.3, I definitely think he has value. Terry Rozier has come alive again, 7.1. We know Brooklyn is not very good against the point guard spot, allowing the fourth most fantasy points to the point guard spot over the last five. Just put up 51.8 last game versus Golden State, who doesn't guard the point guard spot very well either. He has a 26.8% usage in his last game. Terry Rozier is starting to come alive. He's starting to take more shots. His usage is up. Everything that you want to see, that we wanted to see in the earlier season, is now starting to come into fruition. So Terry Rozier at 7.1, I'm totally fine with. A sneaky one that I don't think anybody will be on is going to be CP3. I say that, but everybody knows how bad Minnesota is against the point guard spot. Again, this is the game that I said I really liked. CP3 at 6.3, I think is just a good buy low spot. He's played 33 or more minutes in his last 4 of 6. It's a nice pace-up spot here, of course, playing against the Wolves at home. He's put up 36 or more in 2 of his last 4 on the road. In Minnesota, of course, is allowing the 5th most fantasy points to that point guard spot over the last 5. So CP3, I think, is a very interesting spot. Tomas Satoransky at 6K. Golden State allowing the second most fantasy points to that point guard spot over the last 5. I've already talked about a few guys that have just absolutely torched Golden State here lately. Satoransky's been coming around. 37.5 in his last game. He's put up over 30 fantasy points in his last 3 or 4. Tomas Satoransky, I'm telling you guys, I told you he was the watch list earlier this season. He didn't really do good, but, he's building some confidence, so watch out. Dennis Schroeder at 5.7 leads the team in usage at 30.3 over his last 3 at home. Minnesota, again, allowing the 5th most of that point guard spot. Schroeder's now put up 27 and 38 in his last 2 at home. He's definitely a tournament play. He's very inconsistent. It's a hit or miss. He's a boom or bust, but he's there. Colin Sexton's been playing really well lately at 5.4, over 31 fantasy points in his last 3. He's now put up over 26 in his last 5 at home. He's carrying right a smidge under 26% usage at home at 25.7. Colin Sexton has been playing really well. The usage is up. It's pretty nice. So go ahead and then jump on him in some tournaments at 5.4. Jarrett Culver has been playing really well. 5.1, 36 in his last game here. OKC versus point guards, we know, again, is not a great spot as well. It is a good spot. Sorry. CP3 is not that great on defense anymore. 24 more in his last 3 on the road. So Jarrett Culver is starting to come along pretty well. Kobe White, I think, is a tournament play here tonight at 4.8. Again, Golden State versus point guards is its thing. He's kind of due. He is at home. We know he's put up some massive games at home there in the United Center. So I think this is a really good spot for Kobe White at 4.8. I don't think anybody's going to go there, and I think he's just one of those alternates that the pivots that you can put in, especially in tournaments, and hope for a big night, hope for a ceiling night. So Kobe White at 4.8. DJ Augustine at 4.8 has been playing really well lately. 24 or more minutes in his last 5, 27 and 35 fantasy points in his last 2, and he gets Cleveland, who we know is not very good against the point guard or shooting guard spot. So DJ Augustine is totally in play. Ish Smith again at 3.6. If IT sits once again, put up 33.3 fantasy points last night in 34 minutes. They didn't move his price. He's 3.6. He jumped like $200. Could really be in part for the simple fact that I think they get blown out tonight. But if you want to play it, he's there. Shooting guard Brad Beal at 8.6, kind of in the same essence here. Yeah, they're a big dog tonight. They're coming off a win. It's in theory, this is going to be a flat spot for them. Kind of big win against a big East team here, and then now they're going into Miami, another Eastern Conference foe here that has been playing really well, and Miami has blown out some people, so it does worry me. But still yet, over 44 in his last three, 30.1% usage over his last six. Brad Bill's been getting it done. Dinwiddie at 8.2, over 42 in his last 4 of 6, over 33 minutes in his last 5 of 6. Smidge under 32% usage over his last 5 at 31.4. I've missed him in the point guard spot. I didn't miss him, but I looked over him, and then I just decided to add him back here in the shooting guard. But Dinwiddie is absolutely in play. Jimmy Butler at 8.1. If you believe that Washington hangs in it, you are going to have to play Jimmy Butler at 8.1 because they suck at defense, and they're allowing the number one fantasy points to the small forward spot, shooting guard spot over the last 5. He's had garnered right around a 27% usage over his last 2, and he's put up back-to-back 55.6 and 63-point games. Again, the Wizards are on a back-to-back. Levine at 7.8, over 40 in his last 3 of 4, 29.3% usage in his last 5. Zach LaVine's been playing really well, gets a nice spot here at home. Buddy Hield at 7.6. If Bogdan is out again, the guy's been absolutely torching. Over 41 in his last 3. San Antonio is 4th. Allowing the 4th most fantasy points to the shooting guard spot over the last 5, and he's had a 26.4% usage over his last 3. So Buddy Hield's been playing really well. He's been taking lots of shots like we figured. Bogdan actually helps that whenever he doesn't play because then he doesn't take a lot of shots. So Buddy Hield will absolutely be in play if Bogdan sits again, but even if he does play, I think he's still a fine play there at 7.6. CJ McCollum at 7.4 is fresh off a 55.5 game last game against Sacramento. Gets the Lakers at home tonight. It should be a fast-paced game. It's going to be a good spot. I think everybody's going to play Dame instead of CJ, and, of course, on any given night, CJ can put up 50. So CJ is there at 7.4. Evan Fournier at 6.6. Cleveland allowing the second most fantasy points to that shooting guard spot over their last 5. Over 35 fantasy points in his last 5 of 6. Of course, Evan Fournier has been playing really, really well. His usage is way up. He's been playing really good. He's more of a cash play. We haven't seen him really put up any 50-pointers. Don't think he'll probably get that high, but he's a really nice cash play. Jeremy Lamb at 6.1, over 30 minutes in his last 6, over 30 fantasy points in his last 4 on the road. He's been playing pretty good. Usage is decent, so Jeremy Lamb is absolutely a tournament play. Garrett Temple, a guy that I never thought I would be talking about being a great play on a slate, but the guy's been playing really good, and he's in a great spot. He's playing against Charlotte here. 6 most fantasy points to the shooting guard spot over their last 5. He's played over 39 minutes he's played over 30 minutes in his last 9 games. He has now put up 35 and 39 fantasy points in his last 2 on the road. So Garrett Temple, 5'8", the dude's turned into an offensive juggernaut all of a sudden, and he's really good on defense too. So put that where you want. Luke Kennard at 5'8", missed last game, 31 or more in his last 2 at home. He gets well over 30 minutes when he plays, so if you want to play Luke Kennard, I'm totally fine. Alec Burks at 5.5. His price is down. He's getting back to that range where we want to jump back in on him. Buy low situation. 31 fantasy points in his last game, over 30 minutes in his last 7, and we know that Chicago kind of struggles against the guard play. So, Alec Burks is totally fine as well in that game. It should be a nice pace game. Small forward, Kawhi at 8.4. Nice pace here, obviously, against Milwaukee. 43 or more in his last 3 on the road. Don't really have to talk too much about Kawhi. DeMar DeRozan at 7.4. He's had 2 days rest here. If LMA doesn't sit, you're going to have to jam DDR in. It's a great spot against the Kings. Like I said, McCollum just put up 55.5 against them, and you get DDR playing them at home. Especially if LMA is out, his usage could well be over 30%, and he's put up over 38 or more in his last 4 at home. Andrew Wiggins is questionable, but at 7.5, it's a nice buy spot. 39 or more in his last 4. OKC allowing the 6th most fantasy points to that small forward spot over the last 5. Andrew Wiggins is in a good spot as well. I said I really like that game. Got to have some pieces. So Jaylen Brown at 6.8, 41 or more in his last 4 of 6, over 33 minutes in his last 6. And he gets Denver on a back-to-back here at home. So Jaylen Brown, I think, is a sneaky one that no one's probably going to look at. And that spread's really close on that game. It's like 2.5. So I think all Boston will be in play. I like Tatum as well. I like Kemba. I like Jaylen Brown. So those are really interesting plays that I think are sneaky. Kevin Middleton. Why do I think his damn name's Kevin? Chris Middleton. He played 25 minutes last game. Nice little bump. He was seeing 18 or 19, and now he sees 25. He put up 37.5, and he gets a great game with a lot of pace here. Of course, he's going to have to deal with Kawhi and PG-13, but the minutes, the production, the usage is all encouraging for Chris Middleton going forward. So totally fine with that. I guess I have to mention Lonnie Walker because he put up 42 fantasy points in double overtime last game. I'm not playing Lonnie Walker. I don't really care. I think LMA probably plays again. So moving over to the power forward, Giannis, don't really talk about him. We know he's great. It's going to be a great play. Don't really care who's on the other side, whether it's Kawhi, PG, Michael Jordan. Giannis is still going to get his. Anthony Davis at 9-6. The guy has not played really well. He's only put up 43 and 42 in his last two on the road. But he gets Carmelo defense here that we know is awful. Portland is not good against the power forward spot. They struggle defensively with Carmelo playing 36 minutes over there. So AD, if he's probable, I'm sure he'll play. Hopefully he might go low ownership in that late night hammer, considering the fact that he's not played really well the last two road games. So maybe looking at a low ownership AD here at 9.6. We know he's got 60-point upside. So Paul George at 7-8, 39-46 in his last two. We know, again, this is going to be a really high-paced game there with the Bucks and the Clippers. So PG, if you want to play him, totally fine. Domantas Sabonis at 7.8. Over 40 in his last two on the road. Detroit defense, of course. He's put up a double-double in his last six. So Sabonis has just been amazing. His price continues to go down. Jason Tatum again at 7.6. Denver allowing the fifth most fantasy points to that power forward spot over the last five. 35 or more in his last two at home. Detroit on a back-to-back here. Denver on a back-to-back here. Good spot for Tatum. Really like the price. And Denver's been giving it up to the power forward spot. Danilo Gallinari at 6.4. He's been on every pot I've had here lately, and will be a cash play for me at 6.4. 32 and 38 in his last two at home. Minnesota allowing the seventh most fantasy points to that power forward spot over the last five. And he's played 27 or more minutes in his last nine. He's getting it done. He's consistent. Puts up 30-plus mostly every night, so Gallo is definitely a cash play. Belicia for the Kings at 6.3, over 34 in his last three. LMA is still questionable. He's played 26 or more minutes in his last five. He's been playing really well, so if you want to play him, totally fine with it. Of course, Carmelo at 5.8 playing against the Lakers. We know he's probably going to chuck up 80 shots. He played 36 minutes last game, put up 27 fantasy points. Of course, playing against the Lakers at home, so he's going to want to show out in front of his buddy LeBron. So Melo at 5'8", I think, is probably a play you'll probably want to have at least in one piece of. Bertans and Hashimura on a back-to-back against the Heat. Had to write them down because of the simple fact that they're getting tons of playing time. They're playing lots of minutes. They're both doing really well. Hashimura had a huge game last night. Bertans had a really good first half, and then he went ice cold after that. Still put up 31 fantasy points. So those guys are in play. It just kind of depends on if you want to play them or not, how you feel. Kelly Bolinik at 4.6, 24 more minutes in his last 4 or 5. Over 21 fantasy points in his last 4 or 5 as well. He's been playing good minutes. He's had a couple of decent, really good games. I think he put up a 35-plus pointer here a couple games ago or something. So you can look at him at 4.6 if you want to. He should maybe get a little run in the blowout. Centers, of course, Karl Anthony Towns at 10.4. We know OKC has struggled against the center spot, over 52 in his last two on the road. Don't really have to talk too much about him or Drummond. Over 49 in his last 4 or 5. Andre Drummond's been an absolute beast lately, so we know that he's good. Nikola Jokic, I have to write him down because Boston struggles versus centers, and he's just due for a game. But the guy has been horrible. Hassan Whiteside, 7.7, 51 or more in his last 2 of 3. At home, over 30 minutes in his last 2 of 3. So Hassan Whiteside's been playing really well. He beasted the Kings last game. Gets a little bit more of a better matchup here, of course, but I'm totally fine with Hassan. Bam Adebayo at 7.5 against Washington. He's had 2 really down games. Jimmy Butler is taking over, so this is a spot where Bam is a good buy low at 7.5 against a Washington team that's starting Hashimura, of course, at the center spot. So it's a good spot if you feel like playing that, being a little contrarian. Nobody's going to go there. Jarrett Allen, fresh off a 50.3 fantasy game. Charlotte versus centers is a big thing. We know that. He's 7.2. Rashawn Holmes at 6'8". San Antonio's allowing the 7th most fantasy points to that center spot over their last 5 games, 34 or more in his last 3. Wendell Carter Jr. at 6.6. We know Golden State struggles against the center spot as well. He's fresh off a 39.3 fantasy point game against Memphis, and he gets to play them at home, so he's in a good spot. Finally, last but not least, Steven Adams at 6.3. Even though he's playing Karl Anthony Towns, he's put up over 38 fantasy points in his last 3 at home, over 34 in his last 3 at home. Sorry, over 38 in his last 3, over 34 in his last 3 at home. He's been playing really well. So Steven Adams, very ultra contrarian and a part in that game, again, that I think is going to be really good for fantasy. So this pod has lasted 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your Friday.